everybody, Herp here, and it's time for some more weekly Warframe randomizer. So we got rescue with bonus toxin damage, looks like. So that's gonna be a touch difficult. If the Warframe's too squishy, it might be a problem, but we'll figure out a way to make it work. Let's see what we get today. Oh, Zephyr should be fine. Zephyr's always so tanky. I don't have my Zephyr Prime yet, as you can see. I've just had the generic Zephyr because it's never been a Warframe that I've been super enthusiastic about. But with the, no, not the Appearance. I want to talk about the Warframe. With Zephyr's Turbulence, you should be able to reflect back pretty much all the bullets from the Corpus. What I'm really going to have to watch out for are going to be area effects attacks, things like sapping osprey zones and explosives and things like that. Those are going to be very dangerous because
the intelligence profiles.
Yeah, so it is. I'm glad that you're analyzing the intelligence profiles of the Grenadier. Stop dividing by zero, dang it. Anyways, so we're going to have to be careful because the Corpus do have some AoE. Zephyr's probably going to be the best against the Corpus, but even so, there's still going to be the occasional attack we have to watch out for. So this build is based around that turbulence and that jet stream augment for turbulence, just turning that on and keeping it going a lot. Now, I'm using narrow-minded as one of the abilities that extends the duration of this by a large margin. One thing to be aware of is that with the jet stream, sometimes you're going to want to be extending that bonus movement speed and projectile speed to allies, and that narrow-minded is going to reduce range of the aura, which is going to be a bit of a problem for how close people have to stand to you to be able to actually receive the benefits of the augment. But it's okay because I'm going to be soloing tonight, so that's not a big deal. We got Vitality and Redirection because Zephyr has huge amounts of both health and shields, so we're going to go ahead and amp both those up. And it's also pretty important to have that Redirection on there because Zephyr has practically no armor, so you're just essentially being a big squishy ball of health at that point. Then I've got Prime Continuity and Constitution to stack with Narrow-Minded for even more ability duration. I've got a Fleet Expertise and a Streamline here to give me 175 efficiency. And that's more important for the Plains of Eidolon than it is for enclosed spaces, because you're not really spamming that much with Zephyr when you're just fighting in tight corridors. But when you're out in the Plains of Eidolon, having that much power efficiency so you can essentially just fly forever, keep on pressing her first ability and keep on flying all over the place, that's always just fantastic.
Excellent armaments, operator.
Alrighty, and then of course we've got Rejuvenation here because having a bit of health regeneration is pretty nice on a Warframe like this. That's going to take pretty big chunks of health whenever we actually do take damage. And finally, I'm running Aviator. Just because Zephyr is one of the few Warframes where Aviator actually makes sense. Shockingly enough, you can't actually gain any damage reduction from Aviator when you're in Titania's Razor Wing, which is a bit odd, but you can gain damage reduction from Zephyr at any time while airborne off of any of her abilities or just off of jumping, because, as you know, Zephyr can jump a very long ways. Now, the other reason why I have that deep layer in Exilus is just because I also have, somewhere around here, a high-level Ice Spring that I do use sometimes on Zephyr when I'm in the mood for it, just to have lots and lots of bullet jump. But it's not a big deal. Now, alternatively, if you were to just drop this Fleet Expertise, go for even more power duration, and just level up Streamline and whatnot, then you could have a build where the last mile would be something like Stretch, say, just to get more range to extend the jet stream to more people, or just an Intensify to make sure that you're getting more movement speed and more projectile speed added to your stuff. Now, Zephyr is also a unique Warframe when you have that jet stream equipped because of the fact that she's increasing projectile speed of her weapons, which is probably going to be most useful here on this Angstrum. Now, my Angstrum is a pretty powerful Riven build here. It's got damage, toxin there, and increased weapon recoil, which is pretty hilarious. This thing is going to kick way up into the air when it fires, but it doesn't matter because you fire one big charge shot at a time, and it'll come out the barrel nicely anyway. Now, one of the things that I think is fantastic on the Angstrom is the fact that they increased the critical statistics on this weapon. Like, the Prisma is sitting on 18% crit, 2.2 times multiplier, which isn't fantastic, but on an explosive weapon, critical hits are always amazing. Just because of the fact that explosive weapons aren't particularly good for proccing status effects. The Angstrom's not terrible at it because of how many different little rockets it fires out all at once. You know, you get 9-10 rockets coming out of the barrel all at once based on how much multi-shot you may have added, which in this case we're looking at a full 180% multi-shot there, so quite a bit. But the important thing is that on explosive weapons usually is to amplify critical statistics if there's any excuse to be able to amplify those critical statistics, because explosive weapons do have very high base damage and that deal at high base damage in an area of effect. So when the weapon crits, the crit will usually kill a large quantity of enemies all at once. So that's it tends to be way more useful than status chance, since explosive weapons fire slowly and don't usually have that many projectiles fired per trigger pull. On top of those critical stats and that ribbon mod, we've also got base damage and the multi-shot that I mentioned. Also, the fire rate helps a lot since this weapon is a charge weapon, so that's going to decrease the charge time. Finally, I've added Jolt to make sure that that toxin damage is converted into corrosive, and I've got Fulmination here for increased blast radius, just because I want to make sure that, since those missiles are splattering all over the place, I want to make sure they're covering as large of an area as possible. Now, my Sancti Tigris I have here. The Tigris Prime and the Sancti Tigris are kind of, at this point in the game, interchangeable. Yes, I'm fully aware that this status chance is not precisely 100%, so I'm missing out on the occasional status proc that could be getting on this weapon. But even so, if we were to do the math on how many status procs come out of the barrel, at 99.9%, it's still putting out most of the status procs that a 100% shotgun will put out, and you'll see that it's going to this shotgun functions just fine in its ability to put out slash damage. Now, what are we looking at here? We're looking at damage, multi-shot, and then all 4 dual stat mods in the viral radiation configuration. Just because viral tends to synergize with slash procs, you reduce an enemy's maximum health, and then before their max health goes back up to its normal value when the viral proc ends, they die to slash, taking away at their HP. And of course we have to have slash here because we want to increase the slash percentage. And finally, this particular build's running Seeking Fury for support sphere, and for some reload speed, because of course the Tigris series of shotguns reloads very frequently. You pull a trigger once, then you have to reload. Here I've got my dual Zorens, which also have a pretty high-powered ribbon on them. Critical chance and attack speed. The downside here is the inverse maiming strike here, reduced crit chance on slide attack, but actually the bonus faction damage to Corpus is going to apply here since it's a Corpus mission. That's nice. So you can see that with that bonus critical chance, this weapon is already hitting 50% crit. Did I have one of these in one of the? Did I have the Zorens in one of the previous episodes? I feel like I may have had the Zorens in one of those previous episodes, but I think if I had them on a previous episode, it was that one with Excalibur where I didn't really get a chance to show off the weapon anyway. So. Anyways, we got that ribbon there. Blood Rush to break 100% crit chance on basically any combo multiplier. Organ Shatter because this weapon has a huge crit multiplier. And honestly, it might be better even if this had a critical damage multiplier rather than a critical chance. But I'll take it. This ribbon is extremely powerful anyway. Pressure Point, I mentioned. Drifting Contact is fantastic for any weapon where you've got Blood Rush builds. Obviously, I don't know if I've really talked about Drifting Contact and how amazing this mod is compared to body count, but in exchange for 2 seconds less of combo duration, which isn't a huge thing, especially if you're going to take Naramon, you're getting plus 40% status chance, and more importantly, this mod is also much cheaper. It's only a 5 capacity as opposed to a 9, so you're getting 4 more mod capacity. That sometimes is the equivalent between needing an extra 4 mod on your weapon and not needing an extra 4 mod. Anyways, we've got Buzzkill here for a bonus slash, since the Zorens are almost entirely slash damage on their IPS. And a bit of heat damage here as a spare elemental because I had some space for more elementals to fit in there, so why not? And finally, Life Strike. Helios, I don't know if I've shown off Helios yet, but Helios is built like this for me. Got Sacrifice, Animal Instinct, and that usual stuff. Meta Ray, and in this case I've also got Guardian on here. Now, it might be a better idea if I was to equip more defensive mods than just to enhance vitality here. Looking at Helios Prime, the 100 armor might be enough armor to make it worth equipping Metal Fiber. You could get it up to, what would that be? 200, well, just be 210, wouldn't it? 210% armor sitting around there, which would be a reasonable amount of extra armor. It would reduce the incoming damage on Helios by maybe 20 or more %. Or you could just go for some more shields. But I'm not going to worry about that today. I'm just using Guardian to boost my own personal shields a bit. Vacuum, of course, is another auto-equip on Sentinels. Sacrifice, Vacuum, and Animal Instinct. I think it should be on all Sentinels ever. I do have Prime Region here for a bit of extra tankiness, so there's that. Detect Vulnerability and Investigator are the important precepts for Helios, Investigator being where it scans enemies, and Detect Vulnerability being where it applies mini sonar pulses. This is especially powerful with that Angstrum, since it'll when the Angstrum explodes, one of the explosions is almost guaranteed to hit the weakened point of the enemy. That's pretty good. And then finally Sanctuary. Good stuff. Don't want to spend forever talking about it. I do want to, I think, bring along Scenic for my Zephyr here, but I believe that's already equipped, so I'm not going to bother checking that. Let's just head into the mission, see how many times I blow myself up with that Angstrum. That weapon probably is going to come out a few times, since it is the most powerful weapon, in my opinion, on that loadout. The Angstrom isn't normally a weapon that you see people really gushing over, but I just adore that weapon. It's got roughly 100% status chance, all the different explosions are going to proc status effects, and it deals huge amounts of base damage with crits and things. Like, I think it's personally as good nowadays as the Tonkor is nowadays. Now, the old Tonkor didn't deal self-damage, and that would still be better, but you know. Is there? No, there's nothing there. Okay. Go ahead and add that turbulence going, get me moving faster. That's a rescue mission, isn't it? Okay. Been going about that stealthily, but it's not a big deal in rescue mission.
The moment you enter the holding area,
oh, there's another one.
Execution sequence. Rescue the hostage before it finishes.
Again, like I said, I've got to be very careful specifically about area of effect on this build. Zephyr reflects all projectiles that are incoming with her turbulence, but things that aren't projectiles can still damage her just as easily.
Watch yourself. The alarms have attracted.
Why do I have? Oh yeah, I was so not able to figure out why I had like that. The area effect of the driller missile. I was trying to figure out why I had 1147 HP. But that's the that is the Sancti practice. What that is. That's the what's the name of that for New Loca's effect? It's on the Sancti Tigris. But yeah. Anyways, Zephyr is also really good with to use the Angstrom on. Anyway, because of the fact that she's able to get up into the air, and one of the best ways to make sure that you don't take self-damage from an Angstrom is actually to just perform some aim glides while you're in the air. It's a great way to make sure that explosive weapons don't deal damage to you. Some knockdowns going on there. I'm not really worried about firing off the tornadoes yet. Don't really need to stay in any particular room. Go ahead and charge that up. Oh man, I can barely see what I'm doing here. Let's get out of that. Actually, swap back onto the Tigris for a little bit. Oh, we're at the place. Okay. Here I'm actually going to drop the tornado because I want to clear this room before headed in to go and capture the hostage there. I'm assuming that color of green is applying to viral damage. I'm not really sure, but that was an estimation. And I think some of those swap to corrosive off of the Sancti proc there. As you can see, even on very low combo multipliers, these are already pulling out orange crits. This is one of the reasons why I'm loving this particular weapon that I have. The dual Zorens, by the way, their primary weakness is that they have practically no status chance. One of the things that you should definitely work with on the Zorens is making sure that you use the knockdown procs from the stance to go for ground finishers, since those have a 100% chance to proc slash. And I am not managing to land in this little portal at all. Wow. Oh, did I get stuck into a wall there? Wow. Okay, time to stop using Zephyr's abilities and just go straight for... Oh, dear. You see that network? I don't know if that network not responding is going to record for me.
Transference still holding.
Hopefully that goes away here in a moment. I'm still going to complete the mission even if I don't get the opportunity to reap the rewards. But, yeah, there we go. But we'll see how that network thing goes. Yeah, I know you're in there. Relax. There you go, you can have my Angstrom. I always love getting an overpowered explosive weapon sausage. It's quite irritating. Alright. Now, I don't have much that I can do to protect that hostage right now. I'm just going to have to kill enemies before they can get to him. Oh dear. There, he's got my Angstrom. Thought I'd given it to him already, but apparently I had. Oh dear. Area effect stuff off that drawer burst. I really need to take him down. There we go. Oh, yeah, see?
I'm down.
Yeah, I know you're down, hostage. Don't worry about it. I have plenty of health to work with here.
They've brought
Something
in
was preventing them from
reinforcements.
taking any
Up
damage
first.
whatsoever. That's odd. Oh, not another one. Not another one.
Ah, they've got me.
Wow.
Help.
That killed the hostage in a single hit. Also, you see where I took some damage there? Oh, where is he sitting? Okay, you see where I took some damage there? I believe that's from the area of effect stuff that was still left over from that person. Because those tend to deploy quite a few little mines as they go. That is the thing I wish you could do with Zephyr. I don't know that they did enough of a rework to her when they released the Prime, because I do feel like Turbulence still should be recastable while active. Because of the fact that this Warframe is so incredibly squishy without Turbulence, and so incredibly tanky with it, you know? It's very important to make sure that you never miss out on and leave any downtime on that ability. That's interesting. The map's flipping on
Corpus
itself.
walkers are.
Alright, come on, little duty dude. I don't want you to get left behind and get killed where I have to backtrack to come res ya. There we go. Oh, there's the exit tile. Perfect. A little bit worried about that corpus deck. I'll make sure I don't go down to him right away, but that's gonna be fine. I do believe they may be applying toxins to this actually. Just from the enemies shooting those clouds. That's interesting. Yeah, one important thing to recognize, right, is that corpus are extremely vulnerable to toxin damage, and so one option that would have been available if I was to just pick my loadout for this mission would have been to play a Warframe like Revenant or like Nyx that can essentially mind control the enemies and cause them to start shooting each other. Or maybe even Loki, you know. Loki would be disarming the enemy still, which would be reducing their combat effectiveness versus one another. Anyways, there we go! Easy peasy. Rescue missions usually are not the most difficult in terms of completing the objective. A bit worried there when I pushed into a wall a few times in a row, but we'll blame that on the lag from the non-responding network. Anyways, well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Herp to derp out.